My name is Matthew Cook, and this is called Remember September 11th, but never forget September 12th. If you care about freedom, please join me in downloading a copy of Radley Balko's Rise of the Warrior Cop. It's a horror story and how we've allowed our domestic freedoms to erode by allowing rogue politicians play us in a con game that hasn't ended. Now there's time to turn this around if we get informed, which is not going to happen if we keep listening to some so-called news networks who about a week ago decided to spin a little Twitter post into the media equivalent of a witch hunt. Now, this has been on my mind for a week now. One of my best friends for over a decade, Adrian Grenier, posted a rest in peace to the men and women who died in New York's Twin Towers in 9/11, 2001. Now, 9/11 isn't just something that happened on television for him. Manhattan is where Adrian was born and raised and where he still lives right now in a neighborhood that might surprise people given his success. He's a true-blood New Yorker, and he was there when the towers fell. He was racing to pick up his goddaughter from downtown Brooklyn from kindergarten, watching papers and debris falling from the sky, people in suits covered in ash pushing over the Brooklyn Bridge while holding his goddaughter, telling her everything was going to be okay. And then, like most New Yorkers, he had to live for months with the shell shock and depression and panic attacks and nightmares. All of us remember September 11th differently, where we were and how we saw it. But I also remember September 12th, all of us standing together as one. And it didn't matter what your politics were, left, right, Republican, Libertarian, Democrat. We were all posting our flags in solidarity. We had love for each other. We had each other's backs. And I remember statements of love and support, not just from the United States, but all over the world. Now, 15 of the 19 men who hijacked those planes were from Saudi Arabia. Others were from Egypt and Lebanon, and then the guy claiming responsibility for the attacks was presumed to be in Afghanistan. So we invaded to try to capture him. And then, for half of the country, something inexplicable happened. We marched our sons and daughters, sworn to defend our nation, into Iraq. And since that time, it seems that we've forgotten September 12th. And so my buddy, who happens to be one of the most loyal, loving human rights activists I know, who cares so much, put in that Twitter picture not just an homage to the nearly 3,000 innocent human beings killed in the hometown that he loves, but remembered September 12th as well. And the unity that we felt, all of us, with the entire civilized world. And he included an homage, a rest in peace to the over 1 million human beings who died as a result of the chaos from our response, to the deaths of innocent husbands, wives, fathers, sons, and daughters, victims of a war, and a principle that we should be reminded of on September 11th, September 12th, a week later, every day, that we need to be careful that our reactions to acts of hatred and violence don't create more hatred and violence that end up causing an endless cycle of fighting and the loss of those freedoms that we so passionately claim to hold dear.
I've been to Iraq 14 months for my people. You come over here and hurt them. They don't have guns. They don't have guns. They don't. Why are you hurting these people?
I have no idea why my grandmother was killed. When the drone hit, I was outside with my grandmother. Everything became dark. I was scared, so I started to run. Then I noticed my hand was bleeding.
Independent reports say U.S. drone strikes killed 174 children. Those are astonishing numbers if you put human faces to them.
As Radley Balko says so eloquently, our freedoms don't exist because they're in our Constitution. Those freedoms were placed in our Constitution because they are fundamental human rights for all human beings. So if you're angry, you misunderstood my buddy's post. But if you get it now, and you're still mad, that's on you. Hate is for people who want endless war, endless violence, and for paparazzi rags calling themselves news, selling advertising. I'm not sorry for Adrian or speaking for him. He's fine. He spoke for himself. But I feel sorry for us. What greater freedom is there than freedom from division, from hate, the freedom from unnecessarily violent attacks on people's homes in America, in Afghanistan, in Baltimore, and in Iraq, and in New York. If we want to win a war against terror,